Okay, today we're going to take a look at the IQue player. This is a handheld TV game released specifically for the China market. The reason for that is that China had banned the sale of the Nintendo 64. We all know the N64 for such great titles as Super Mario 64. You know, these are all pretty big hitters from that system's history. GoldenEye, you know, another massive hitter. Really classic game, well thought of. And Cruis'n USA, you know, three of my favourite games on the N64. So, this machine was developed to allow Nintendo to get a foothold in China because they couldn't sell the N64. So Nintendo was trying to circumnavigate the ban that the Chinese government had implemented in 2000, and also to help try and curb software piracy in China. So this is the main unit. This is it. It's all in one unit. We've got a storage card in the back of the unit. This cartridge was used to store games that you'd purchased either in initially in the stores. There used to be a machine in the stores, you could upload games into that, and later there was home software portal created that allowed you to update the system at home. The system came with a composite output, which, as we all know, composite tends to bleed and be a little bit blurry, but it was okay, I suppose, at the time. The games that came out on the system were Wave Race 64, Star Fox 64, Dr. Mario 64, Super Mario 64, Legend of Zelda, Mario Kart, F-Zero X, Yoshi's Story, Paper Mario, Sin and Punishment, Excitebike, Super Mario Brothers, Custom Robo, and Animal Crossing was its last game. Ooh, that was a mouthful. Should have slowed that down. This is a custom port that was developed obviously with the machine to connect your TV and power all in one connection, which is quite cool. Not too many wires. This is the other end, so you've got this that's your power port, you've got your two audio connections and your composite out. Okay, so it's time to get the system apart and have a look inside. No special game bit screwdrivers on this, they're just literally, you know, Phillips headed screws, quite a lot of them as you'll see, but you know, nothing too complicated to undo it and get it apart. So while I'm stripping it, we'll just look at the highlights. So the best game that was thought of on the system was Dr. Mario. It's R4300i 64-bit CPU. It had 16 meg of DDR memory. It could push 100,000 polygons per second. The sound was an AD PCM64. It was released in November 17th 2003. It's a 5th generation system. It was a joint venture between Nintendo and Wei-Yen. The media is flash card and cartridge based, and it was obviously only for sale, as I said, in China. On taking the system apart, as you can see, there's a little heatsink here which covers the main processor and the DRAM. I wanted to save these. I haven't got any thermal pads this sort of size, so if it looks like I'm fiddling around, there's a good reason for that, because I wanted to reuse them. Seems to be the main processor in there. It's quite a nice tidy board. There's an onboard battery for memory, you know, crystal oscillator. This, according to Google, the part number on this chip comes out as a DRAM chip. But you know, going back to what I was saying, it's a very tidy, nice little designed little unit, and it does scream out as to why haven't Nintendo really delivered a N64 Mini. You know, in my opinion, they've already made it. I know this wasn't a particularly cheap unit. This. Because of obviously the quality of the construction, I think it's quite a well-made little unit. That appears to be what the numbers I've taken out and put in Google. They come out as DRAM, so I can only assume that is that Googling's correct. But yeah, it's a nice tidy board, very modular in its construction and simple. I think, you know, why can't we have a N64 Mini? I think the only downside, I think the only thing that have to change is obviously the software that runs this. So we'll start popping it back together just so we can have a further look around the system and have a look at some of the games. You know, it's probably one of the simplest machines I've took apart actually, but there's not a lot to see. One thing I looked at there was just these little daughter boards for the, you know, nothing too complicated there, just a couple of daughter boards for those buttons. Quite a simple construction really, nothing too complicated. I also took notice of the joystick. That joystick looks very reminiscent of what's actually in the N64 controller. That is very similar in design, if not, you know, might even be very, you know, exactly the same. Just changed very slightly to fit this unit. So it's you know, very nice little unit. This was marketed to China really to help improve children's mental health and social development. It wasn't supposed to be targeted as a games console because all games consoles, like I say, were banned in 2000. So this was like a sneaky attempt to get round those regulations. But it's very much like Nintendo. It's not the first time they've done something like this. Well, that's it all back together. You know, it all clicks together quite nicely. Pop the flash cart back in. And there we have it. Back together. So, it easily boots up quick. Nice and easy to turn on. The interface is very simple. The games, it came with some games, and other games were timed demos. So, you know, you could either go on to the systems that were available in the shops or the online system that I'll show a bit in a minute, and then obviously you could purchase the game or just play the demo out. That was the home software, the IQue at home software, where you could load in your own games through a token system and the internet, or you could go into a shop and you could use this system to download them and pay direct in the shop at the time, depending on what sort of facilities you'd got at home. So a very nice little idea. It was very well thought out and really great. So you can see that some of those have a little yellow symbol by them. They're the demo ones. Certain games, like I say, came on it fully released. I think that this system has been cracked. I do believe that you can load on more software and release those time restraints because it has been cracked. But you know, really interesting to have a little bit of a dive into this little quirky little machine. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you again in the next video. Bye for now.